Yeah. Good afternoon. So we're here to talk to you today about students with special needs and how they currently fit into the school environment, and maybe some of the deficits that occur because of that. So here you'll see this is the idea of an actual school. And as school is today, a traditional school, things happen inside a box. And we wanted to use that as a metaphor of school being in the box. And there are some things that help all children at school, help them succeed. We have testing that we do. We have standardized testing to see how kids are doing, school psychologists, counseling, testing, referrals when students have issues. Of course, everything starts with the classroom teacher and the educational assistants. Some students may benefit from Title I, being on an IEP, maybe the resource room or life skills. But we also know that students with special needs often have a diagnosis of some kind and often are labeled. And some of these things may or may not help. And so we showed Band-Aid in front of the school environment because we often think that some of these things just really are a Band-Aid to help them somewhat achieve inside this box of what we call school.
I'm going to introduce some of the types of students that we've been talking about. So we have children that might have some of the different social needs, children maybe with autism or Asperger's or any other kind of social developmentally social development challenges, and as well as the cognitive child. It could be from behavior issues, attention deficit disorder, maybe just below grade level or coming to school without preschool skills, entering kindergarten, the early literacy skills, even those kids who are just struggling in different academic areas. It could be due to, again, learning disability, but maybe just needing glasses or any of those types of cognitive issues.
And we also have students who are suffering emotionally. For example, students that come from a broken home or have experienced divorce or perhaps some sort of grief, loss of family member. A lot of kids that perhaps are homeless and struggling at an emotional level, and how perhaps a half hour of therapy a week would just be considered a Band-Aid, and that's not necessarily helping them with all the other aspects of their life.
So ultimately, we want our students to become thriving citizens in our society and to be educated and to be happy and healthy. And so we realize that although this is the current way that we help these students, it's sort of an old way of thinking, kind of a paradigm that maybe isn't quite working any longer. And so we realize that in order to help these students achieve, the Band-Aids really aren't working. So we'll take these off to sort of show that that's really not the best way, and that maybe there's a different way that teachers and educators and administrators need to think about school, and that they need to go outside the box.
And so perhaps the key to get there would be using entry point theory to help students in the box, but also help them survive outside of the box, and educating students and helping them to become thriving citizens. And a little bit about entry point theory.
Howard Gardner's branching from his multiple intelligence theories and his theories of entry point. Ways to help every type of student, whether they have special needs or not, tap into their strengths and their just kind of their things that hook them for learning. So thinking about, again, the house, the entry point into a house that, you can get in through a door, a window, a chimney. But in this case, the keys for the different students that the teachers can help with are using their different strengths. Like one, for example, I'll do this one, the foundational, existential, and situational would be students who tend to like to know like the why question, like why are we here, or just kind of those types of questioning. Why are we even learning this?
And then there's the interpersonal or social, which is just connecting with other people and working together and being part of a group and a community.
Oh, connected. This student too, the students that are this way are sometimes the ones that are very intrapersonal, so they're very, they tend to choose to work alone. They may be the ones, like we've seen with some of our little students here, that they may need the time to be processing things on their own, and it's not necessarily a weakness that they're doing things on their own in a school environment. We like to try and include them a lot and get them to be part socially of the school community. But again, tapping into their strengths of
To
respecting
acknowledge
that,
that
you know, and respecting that and working with that to help them.
Let that be their
get
key into
into
school.
So the interpersonal community work, drama, and the other art forms too that are working as a group to
Certainly a lot of children that are dealing with emotional issues, oftentimes this is an entry point for them because they can, the aesthetics, because they can maybe listen to music that helps them understand, oh, that's sad music and I'm feeling sad today, or that music really helps me feel better about what's going on with me. So for an emotional child, that may be a great entry point. And this aesthetics is definitely an entry point for a lot of students anyhow, which is why we have music in the schools in general. But
And expression through
expression,
visual art and
certainly all these students benefit.
drawing pictures.
Narrative is a common one that we often as teachers use, but again, making sure that we're maybe trying to get to the concept that we're teaching through a story can often help hook some of these kids that are not part of the group in, especially if we choose a story that speaks to something that socially inept child really likes. If I choose a story about trains and I know that my autistic student is into trains, then he may sit in a circle and listen because it's something he's interested in. Certainly an entry point for him.
Touches on kids who are very literary, very like the reading and the literacy as their multiple intelligence, poetry, things like that. We did that one.
this one's experiential or kinesthetic. So moving and getting out and learning by doing and experiencing what they're learning.
Outdoor.
Moving, playing.
For students that have maybe some cognitive difficulties, this is a connection for them.
Tactile.
And having the experience so they have something that they can connect with. If they're having a processing issue, oftentimes it's that real experience that they've had that they can talk about later, as opposed to something abstract that the teacher might be talking about on the board that doesn't affect them.
And the quantitative logical entry point would be for those kids who are always really focused on like the how much or the how big, so mathematical, scientific inquiry, again a lot of like the hands-on learning but through the process of maybe the scientific process.
Trying to solve a puzzle,
Problem solvers, things like that. So again, the hope is maybe some of those things that we do now inside the box, things like IEPs and standardized testing, we can branch out and think outside the box and tap into some of those things and include the entry points with the IEP goals, or instead of all the standardized testing, have alternative assessments that show as well the strengths of students to help them access their education.
So instead of a Band-Aid to get through one day or a week, you're helping these students make connections to learning that will last a lifetime and help them think outside the box in the real world.
That's right. And helping them start seeing outside the box in order to be able to access what's in the box, to become an educated, thriving citizen.